So I've had a few times when people have said, hey, I don't need an estate plan. I'm like, well, why is that? Well, I just put my kid on as a joint tenant with my wife and I on our house. I'm like, well, why did you do that? Well, here's why, and they kind of explain. They know a little bit about the law, and the law is if you own property as joint tenants with rights of survivorship, and let's say there's three, husband and wife and child, when one dies, the other two own it 50-50. When the other dies, the surviving person owns 100% of that asset. So it doesn't have to go through probate. You can avoid probate with joint tenancy. How cool is that? Yeah. Here's the problem, and this actually happened. So I had a client who had some addiction difficulties, and they ended up going into residential treatment for quite a while. And while they were in treatment, their ex-spouse, who divorced them because of their addictions, got an order that they had to pay child support. Well, if you're in full-time residential drug treatment, you don't have time to have a job. So your child support bill is growing. They got done with treatment, kind of got back on their feet, and their ex took them back to court. And in court, the judge entered a judgment somewhere, I can't remember, somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 for unpaid child support and the attorney's fees to try and collect that child support. The attorney for the ex recorded that judgment, and then they did a property search through the whole state of Utah. And they found out that that person who had that addiction problem, the parent that owed the other parent child support money, was a 1/3 owner of a home in northern Utah. So guess what they did? They found out that that house was paid off, free and clear. These grandparents, this couple, had put their only child on as a joint tenant of their home. They had built that home. They had raised that child in that home. They had lived their 50 years of their marriage in that home. They had had upgrades done to it as they had aged, and they needed some of those handles and stuff in the showers and around the toilets. You know, they had widened the door things and lowered some, they had done a lot to make it so that that home was user-friendly to them in their old age. Well, here's what happened, unfortunately. Their child's ex-spouse sought a sheriff's sale of their house. They noticed that sheriff's sale up with 30 days notice that that home was going to be sold to the highest bidder to pay off that guy's, their child's back child support, that judgment. Well, what they ended up doing, they ended up selling that house for about 80 cents on the dollar so they get out from under it and get more money probably than what it would have happened if it had been sold off at an auction at the courthouse step. So bottom line is this: do not own real estate as a joint tenant with anyone who is not your spouse or lifetime partner. It has so much risk to have kids and grandkids on property as a joint tenant while you're still living in it, and those problems can happen. So if you're thinking about doing that, please don't. Look for an estate planning attorney in your area so that you can make sure that things are done right to avoid this very problem.